How does weight affect lap time? How crucial is it to winning a race? Let's do some digging. So, this past weekend in the Formula 1 Grand Prix of Spa-Francorchamps, we saw race winner George Russell get disqualified for being below weight after the race was over. Let's chat about this incident.
Nothing, just an incident.
Let's discuss this from 3 different perspectives. Formula 1's perspective. F1 analyst Jolyon Palmer spoke about the issues. Let's see what he had to say.
Assume that Russell finished the race with fuel in the car, as he actually has to do. So once they drained the car, 2.8 litres came out, and 1.5 kilos was the amount that Russell was underweight of the limit. So it's an absolute no-brainer disqualification.
As he mentioned, FIA regulation states that all cars have to meet a minimum weight limit post-race, and that number is exactly 798 kilos. Russell's car was exactly that, but fell short once they removed fuel, that being 1.5 kilos worth. It's per regulation that final weight is with no fuel in the car. In this race, George found himself doing the most amount of laps on a single tire, 34 to be exact on that hard tire. This many laps on that tire would have removed a lot of tread and therefore weight off the tire. That's a lot of tire. Here's the interesting part about Spa. It's a circuit where the cars aren't allowed to do a complete cool-down lap. They finish the race, and literally after turn 1, they go straight into the pits from the opposite end. This therefore doesn't allow drivers to pick up loose rubber off the track. This is a strategy all teams use as a failsafe to add weight to the car post-race to avoid being under minimum weight. Believe me, they are accounting for every gram that car weighs, and their initial weight carries a safety margin to avoid DQ. So, the million-dollar question, what does 1.5 kilos of fuel mean in terms of lap time? Jolyon thinks it translates to half a tenth per lap, but over 44 laps, that would yield him around 2 seconds of lap time. That being said, he only beat Hamilton by less than a second, and Piastri was within a second to Hamilton. The outcome could have been different, no doubt. So now let's look at it from Mercedes' perspective. They were obviously very disappointed with having the car disqualified, that especially since Russell drove his heart out and came from a P6 starting position. He had to drive so precisely to avoid any tire slippage to keep the tread happy for so many laps. They brought up an amazing point, that cars lose a lot of weight throughout the race with factors like plank wear, tire wear, brake wear, and even oil consumption. That is wild. Even the drivers are known to lose 3 to 5 kilos of weight in a race. It's nuts. The crazy thing is that both of their cars started at the exact same weight. They should have been within 500 grams of each other according to them. They are still in the process of collecting data, but do believe that the weight difference was mostly in tire and plank wear. So their answer to the million-dollar question of how this affected lap time was a bit different. They stated that both cars started at the same weight, but George's car lost more weight throughout the race. This therefore produced a slight performance gain that in their eyes was only hundredths of a second per lap. Pretty negligible of a gain, they think. I would bring up that these 2 cars may be set up a bit different for driver preference and therefore carry slightly different aero loads, maybe even slightly different engine and electrical deployment modes. These 2 cars aren't set up exactly alike, that I know. The next perspective, General Motorsports. F1 is obviously not the only series in motorsports where weight is of importance. Let's talk sports car. IMSA, GTD, GTD Pro class. This series has huge diversity as many manufacturers compete in the same class. While all these cars are built to the same regulation, they all do have different engines, engine placement, displacement, body shape, and aero loads. So how is it that this series is able to run so closely together? This mechanism is called BOP, balance of performance. Every single car has to lie within a performance window of 0.3% to the other. This is how they do it. The 2 main factors that make this possible are weight and horsepower. They start by using the charts and telemetry to determine if each team is extracting everything from their car. After that, they see how much horsepower via a restrictor in the intake or weight they have to add to the car, if any. If said car is far ahead of the field, it is guaranteed that they will remove boost in turbocharged engines or add weight to make the car heavier and therefore slower. They, of course, have to consider all factors on how and where that leading car achieved its lap time and make the best decision for the series to remain competitive. As in everything, I am sure race teams have game to play to get a slight advantage to their competitors. Now, another sport I really enjoy watching, Formula Drift. They set minimum weight depending on tread width or grip of the vehicle. If the car has less tire and grip, the vehicle is allowed to weigh less. I can appreciate the simplicity in this because this series has something that the rest don't. Different tire manufacturers. This series has teams running Kumo, GT Radial, Nittle, Falcon, and other tire brands. To think they all just become smoke is great. This series has a lot going on, and to be competitive, you have to make sure your car has proper contact with the asphalt, as is the game in every form of motorsports. I really enjoy seeing all sorts of different cars competing and getting close to and sometimes into walls. Sorry? As per regulations, Formula Drift impounds all podium finishers to make sure they make weight and tire size compliance. In this series, not only do cars lose weight by tread depth, but also by missing body panels. These two items, as well as fuel, like F1, are much accounted for by the teams. This is why you always see teams rigging up bumpers and side panels with zip ties. It is for the look cool aspect, but also for keeping weight on the car. The driver has to push to be as close to the wall as possible, but keep those flexing but not indestructible body panels in place. I have heard drivers say that over 2 runs, their car loses 5 to 10 pounds of rubber on the rear tires, just the rear tires. Since they are constantly burning out at high speeds, some of those chunks of rubber actually end up stuck to the underbody of the car, unlike other series. That buildup is also considered in final weight for the team, but keep in mind that excess rubber sometimes catches fire. So at the end of the day, to be competitive, you have to aim to be as close to minimum weight and max grip to win. There are different formulas for each sport and within every team, but believe me, they are probably accounting for more than we even think. Stay tuned as we have an upcoming video we want to work on where we will provide exact numbers on how weight affects lap time, but on a slightly different scale. Let us know what you think. Should F1 take the approach other organizations take by doing a balance of performance, or do you think their current approach is fair? Let us know in the comments below, and we will see you guys in the next one.